You're now listening to Sanity at the Movies, Planes Go Vroom edition. I'm Nathan, I'm your humble and obedient host. That's Ben, the preacher who's a teacher of cinema.
Yes.
And many fine things he'll have to teach us based on the masterpiece we're talking about today.
No doubt.
I'm sure. Now, the pastor who's a master of cinema, Jake, is a huge Top Gun fan, grew up with the movie. I mean, he's not a fan of what's bad about the movie, but it's just a nostalgia piece for him. And so I'm sure he's going to really enjoy this Top Gun movie. Right, Jake? Yeah, guys. I will. Jake, you don't sound like yourself today. That's because I'm not actually here.
Jake, you've got us again.
You card. He is a card. Jake is not here. He chose to be with his children for their...
It was some lame family reason.
He like... Jake is a reverse dad in every movie. He's like the dad that goes to all the games. And we're like, Jake, you've been to every game, every musical performance, every lame school thing. Your kids feel so validated. You need to take a night off and see Top Gun with us. But he did not do it.
Man.
So...
All right.
But I don't know. He might want to circle back. Get it? Because in planes, you can circle back.
Oh, yeah, right.
Jake might want to circle back and give his own thoughts on Top Gun or even trigger a more in-depth
trigger.
discussion.
I see what you
yes,
did there.
Planes have triggers.
He's a trigger figure.
Yeah, yep, that's right.
It's Jake. Flying high.
Yep.
With his family.
Yep. Jake might have some absolutely soaring thoughts on this film, Top Gun Maverick, but
he might shoot down any criticisms we have to offer.
That's absolutely right. But today he is not here with us, so that makes it sound like he's dead. Jake is no longer with us. Listen, me and Ben, we saw Top Gun. We saw it with our wives.
We did.
We saw it with a crowd of...
Top Gun Maverick.
We saw it like the pre-opening. I don't know what they call it, but it was like the...
It was a special screening.
Special screening.
We got special pins. We got posters. I guess we didn't actually pick up our posters. None of us.
Well, we did grab our poster, and
okay,
it's cool. A very boring poster, though. It's like a little geometric design. It's a little bit cooler than just the floating heads posters that you often get these days. At least it's something, but... I was not excited. This movie, by the way, destroyed Ben's sinuses. It was so exciting that
got me.
He's not operating on full health today because Top Gun Maverick took so much out of him.
It did it.
So me and Ben, ironically, don't care about the Top Gun franchise, if you can call it that, at all. I don't think you've ever seen the first Top Gun.
I never have.
I have seen the first Top Gun when I was a kid. I remember it vaguely, but I don't have any particular fondness. So if Jake was here, he could represent like the Top Gun, the people that feel like that movie and have feelings about that movie. But me and Ben, I don't dislike it or anything. I mean, it's from a whole school of filmmaking that I don't particularly like and did not even like as a kid. Like the Tony Scott, Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer school of action schlock militaristic movie, which Michael Bay comes out of. Michael Bay is the most aggressive and famous proponent of that whole style. I really don't like it. It's the first time I actually remember being aware of filmmaking as a kid. I mean, that's not true. I was aware of filmmaking, but maybe the first time where filmmaking pulled me out of a movie was seeing either Crimson Tide or The Rock or one of those things, movies which are okay. But the style is so aggressively edited, like everything feels like a TV commercial. The shots don't last for more than 3 or 4 seconds. It's just edit. Yes. Cannot let the audience's attention lag. And the action scenes are not edited for geography. They're edited for momentum purely. So it's hard to tell where people are. It's not quite everything that we complain about with Christopher Nolan or the Bourne movies, the Children of Bourne. I guess the action scenes where you can't tell what's going on at all, but it is just this style that everything just feels like a commercial. It's not. I don't know, how would you describe it? It's just
I think you're doing a good job, but it's hard to if you see it, you know it. Oh,
these guys all came out of directing music videos and television commercials, and it's just got that slick kind of.
It's slick. The editing is very. It's like a nonstop rhythm. It kind of inures you to anything else. I mean, I was kind of aware of this, but when I was a kid and saw a movie by Tony Scott that I don't know if it was had his most appeal. Tony Scott made a lot of money as a director. He died in maybe 2011 or something.
Yeah.
I want to say
of suicide, I think.
Really,
which is kind of adds a grim tone to everything. But
yeah, absolutely. Anyway. So he's Ridley Scott's brother. Ridley Scott, famous director of Gladiator and Alien,
Blade Runner.
Yeah, all kinds of famous things.
And also very not more controlled and restrained and a better filmmaker, I'd say, than anyone we're talking about. But similarly slick and.
Yeah, Ridley Scott is slick, but he's not really the same kind of filmmaker.
Yeah.
He's but Tony Scott, I grew up seeing. Well, what I grew up is wrong, but in 2001, I would have been entering college, and I saw Spy Game, and I loved that movie.
Is that the one with Robert Redford
and Brad Pitt?
Yeah,
it's where Tony Scott takes this very fast editing style and applies it to a spy story.
Yeah,
it's a very deliberate choice of like, this is a confusing world of quick information, fast decisions. All these layers happening faster than you know how to process. And so he was applying his very slick, fast editing style to a story that you could make an argument like, oh, this fits this story because it's part of the storytelling.
Yeah.
It's part of like the flow of information is too fast. All these characters and their motivations are hard to figure out. I bet if I went back, in memory, Spy Game has become a pretty dumb movie. It's not very good. So
I saw it at the time, and I don't remember particularly loving it, but
sure,
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. I think I'm bringing it up to say Tony Scott was he was trying to make use of his style.
Yeah, he had a style, and it wasn't a bad style per se. Like, there's nothing wrong with quick cutting. There's nothing wrong with an aggressively flowing camera. It's when it's used indiscriminately. So, like, Michael Bay obviously is the great offender. And what happens in a movie like Armageddon, to take the most aggressive example of a movie that's just constant shots that last about 2.5 seconds, I think somebody actually did the test, is that like the love scenes have that. The action scenes have that. It's like as if you were using the same writing style and it was all in caps and you were just writing the love scene the same way as you were writing the action scene, as you were writing the information dump scene,
as you were writing the comedy moment.
Right. It's all like that. And it's not that like if it just went there for the action scenes, or like Ben's saying with Spy Game, it kind of worked for the story that it was telling, at least in his memory.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But when it's just slathered over everything indiscriminately, it's kind of insulting to the audience, I think, because it's like, if we ever stop editing, if we ever stop the camera from moving and swirling around, if we ever stop to take a breath or to provide punctuation, they'll get bored. They'll run out.
Right.
We have to keep them stimulated with more and more and more and more information.
Yeah. I remember Armageddon I saw it way after it came out on someone's friend's TV.
Right.
And I just remember hating it, absolutely, and finding it exhausting.
Right.
I agree with everything you're saying. I feel like there's some other adjective that should come up to describe it, but
there is something that feels stylistically immoral about it. Yeah. Like as if apart from any sex or violence or anything that you might object to in the content of the movie, just simply the way that it's made despises you and
well, it
doesn't respect you and is doing something, is assaulting you in a way that art, if you can call it that, shouldn't. It should be leaving something to you, allowing you to bring something to it, but instead it's just screaming in your face the whole time. And
it's like the whole movie is a dog reaction shot or something.
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. It's like showing a dog reaction shot. Generally, some filmmakers can get away with it, but generally it's a way of like saying, hey, you're a little kid, here's a cute dog, whatever, reacting to what's happening. Enjoy. So it's like lowest common denominator, right?
Yeah.
I'm not really objecting to dog reaction shots, I guess, but I'm saying the whole movie has that flavor of, okay, you like this, here's the next thing you should like. Like, it's like force feeding you every image. It's like force feeding you the dumbest dialogue, the silliest events, the dumbest plot points, and the stupidest characters. And it's just in a relentless tempo that you're supposed to find entertaining and kind of silly and fun, but it is aggressive, and it does. I think this is true of Armageddon. I know it was true of Transformers, which I saw in the theater, and I hated Transformers almost as much as anything I've ever seen, because Transformers, it was as though it was devoted to not giving you a story, not giving you an action scene that you could follow. It was like things would be happening, and there would be quick edits and shots and stuff, and then we would cut away from what was happening and never return to it, and just assume the outcome.
Right.
And Michael Bay's story, and it felt very, very deliberate, very intelligent. Like, this is a choice I have to make to not show you all of what happens. I'll show you a bunch of very quick things beginning to happen, and then we'll just forget about it. I'm going all over the place here, but I'm trying to capture the sense of being, of like, you have normal bonds in storytelling, like we tell you this part and we tell you that part, and you can make a coherent narrative. And it's like Michael Bay is like, no, I'm gonna dissolve the meaning as much as I can. Even in the way I film an action scene. Yeah. I'm gonna make it so that it's hard for you to I'm gonna make it so that you can't put together the entire scene. I'm not even going to give you the entire scene. And it's not because
I'm trying to put you in the head of Jason Bourne or put you in a world that feels this way.
No, it's not because of that. It's because of something else. It's like what you want as an audience. Here's what I think you want. I think you want a bunch of pretty explosions happening. I don't think you care if it means anything. I think you want.
In fact, meaning and coherence will get in the way. And
they will get in the way of my beautiful images. And here's a comedic moment, and here's a mean moment, and here's a little sadism for you, where the hero gets really violent, and you like it.
And there's Megan Fox with a lot of cleavage,
and we're filming her like she's a car, or let's film her so that she's a sex object in a very explicit, like glossy magazine cover, bikini calendar kind of way.
Right. Well, which almost makes me want to correct something that you said. I want to show you my beautiful explosions. I actually don't think that's what he thinks. I think he has more disdain for us than that. I almost feel like he doesn't care about the explosions any more than he cares about Megan Fox. In other words, I just watched a Fellini film for some reason, because that's the way I am. Fellini's a very sensuous director who obviously likes women, and there was stuff in the movie where I was like, oh no, I have to close my eyes. But you could tell this man was actually attracted to the woman that he was filming, which wasn't good, but I'm just using it as a counterexample of Michael Bay doing, like you said, these Maxim model kind of shots,
right,
which are the kind of shots you do not so much because you're personally attracted to Megan Fox and you want to make her look pretty, which has its own problems, again. But I want to distinguish it from something even more cynical, which is, this is what you stupid audience wants. Right. You want Megan Fox, in this outfit. Like, right. I think so little of you that here's your explosions, here's your swill, you pig. Here's your explosions, here's your Megan Fox.
Well, anyway, so that's Michael Bay. Michael Bay Michael Bay and Tony Scott are different.
No, Tony Scott is just on that spectrum. He's actually, you go back and you watch the original Top Gun or something, it actually feels pretty conservative by today's standards. I mean,
in terms of his editing, you mean?
I mean, cutting has just simply gotten quicker. We live in the YouTube age. We live in the post-TV commercial age. Like, our brains do process information quicker. We are more used to jump cuts and quick cuts. And there are filmmakers like Guy Ritchie and people that we like to talk about that use those things very well. And Tony Scott, you watch Top Gun now, I'm not sure you'd even notice how stylish it is. It's we're 30 years or 20 years or whatever down the road. But Tony Scott is on that continuum. And the way we got started on this conversation is there was this whole school of filmmaking under a producer named Jerry Bruckheimer and his buddy Don Simpson. Don Simpson died, but Bruckheimer is still with us. And they released all these movies, Bad Boys, Crimson Tide, The Rock, Armageddon, Top Gun, militaristic, faux pro-military, pro-conservative kind of movies, but all kind of with that cynical sheen of, yeah, I know what conservatives really want. They want guns, and they want shots of body parts of pretty ladies, and they want And also there, let's put some gay subtext into Top Gun because maybe they want that. And, it's just very cynical. It's everything that's kind of nasty about 80s and 90s filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I think this movie successfully replicates some of that style.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty fun that way. I don't know. So I right now I have pulled up the first 10 minutes of Top Gun, which again, I've never seen the original. And there's a definite style. There's a definite artistry. I'll go that. I don't see how you could deny it. Like the way that things are filmed, the way that the planes and the carrier on the ocean are filmed, the way the lighting is. It seems to capture a world really well.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that whole studio was they had money, and so as opposed to even what Schwarzenegger was doing in the early 80s, something like Commando, which is just kind of cheap and silly. Yeah. These movies always had really high production value and really beautiful cinematography, and they tended to be high contrast, sun dappled kind of, the sweat perfectly applied to our sexy stars as they do whatever they're doing. And there is something that's painterly about it, actually. But and Tony Scott, probably one of the better visualists of that whole school.
Oh, yeah, he is. I mean, I remember enjoying some later Tony Scott stuff as guilty pleasures. Deja Vu, I've never seen. I've heard a lot of people say that it's a fun guilty pleasure. It was fun. It's a Denzel Washington time travel kind of a movie. I think it has some inappropriate stuff, but it's not. It's on the PG-13 level.
Right.
Anyway, I'm not recommending it. Really, I don't remember it well enough, but it's basically just like a mystery action thriller thing.
Right.
So.
Well, people are eager to hear what we actually thought about Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, I know they are, Nathan.
This movie did. How to get it? Okay, let's just put people out of their misery.
Yeah.
So if you go and see this in IMAX and you see the airplanes go vroom, they go vroom very loud and very fast, and you see the scenery behind them, and you know they're not really doing it because you're not an idiot that believes all of Tom Cruise's hype, but you also know that they did a lot of it and that you're getting a lot of real aerial photography. It's very cool. It's very exciting. My wife I don't know that she's like white knuckle. Roger Ebert used to have this phrase, bruised forearm movie. He said, Indiana Jones is a bruised forearm movie because your date is grabbing your forearm in excitement the whole time. Because, she's like, what's going to happen? Well, this was a bruised forearm movie for me because there's any number of really exciting, oh no, we've got to get to the target and blow it up.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 sequences and the whole last third is super exciting. And given that, and that's why you're seeing such wonderful reviews of this thing, why everybody's going nuts for it. Because in an age of Marvel schlock where it just feels like everything was done on a computer and pre-visualized by the same company, that the director didn't even get to put their signature on it. It was just this movie has wonderful action scenes, a lot, and they're a lot of fun.
Yep.
And if you're a 10-year-old boy that wants to see an airplane go vroom, then you'll really enjoy it. And as a whatever age I am, year-old boy, I like to see those airplanes go vroom. And I think we all 4 of us, our wives included, enjoyed this movie on that level. I've heard people compare it to like Mad Max Fury Road, which Mad Max Fury Road was a whole movie built around visceral sequences with a visceral world. This movie is a very boring, stupid world and with some visceral individual sequences.
Sure,
it's not. So
it's more, it is a world that exists to enshrine the original Top Gun.
Yes.
And to enshrine the 80s and to enshrine the imagery of this kind of movie from the 80s. I don't know that I'd go as far as calling it a shrine to Tony Scott, but almost.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's why I wanted to spend some time talking about the style. Because so we just said all the good stuff. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. Like
I'll go on and I'll say it's really good. It gives you that feeling of, I don't know, sometimes in movies you're like, I never thought of that image, or I never thought of that feeling, and I never thought of flying a plane that fast. It was pretty awesome.
There's any number of scenes where the G-force or what, I don't know, plane terminology,
G-forces.
But the gravity is pulling on them. They are flying up real fast and they're feeling all this resistance. And this movie really makes you feel that in a way that you might catch yourself holding your breath in the theater as, just like, oh, that's what it would be like to have to do a crazy maneuver in a super fast plane.
Right.
The character stuff is like on the level of use the force. Like you must feel instead of...
Don't think, feel.
Don't think, feel.
Don't think, feel.
And the guy's like, all right, I'm going to feel. And then...
and then he becomes totally awesome.
Spoiler alert, he may or may not then make the crazy shot or whatever.
Right.
But so even...
The Death Star.
Even with the action, there's a lot of silliness and stuff that relates to the stuff that I think we're going to say that we didn't like about this movie. Is there anything else you want to say in praise of the I really do, especially in the Marvel schlock era. It's nice to have a guy like Tom Cruise that wants to spend the money and take the time to give the audience something that's exciting and that feels cool and feels like we haven't seen before. And like, this was a spectacle movie, and you actually, when's the last time you paid money for a spectacle movie and then you felt like it delivered on the level of giving you the spectacle that you paid your ticket price for?
Yeah. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
I mean, I guess the Batman.
Yeah, but the Batman actually
is much more modest.
The Batman is much more modest, and actually the spectacle level of Batman surprised me. Like I thought it would give me an okay story, and it did, and then it turned out the action scenes and stuff were pretty good too.
Yeah,
but this I would compare more to like a martial arts movie or something, where it's like right. I'm paying a ticket for 30 minutes of awesomeness, and I know I'm going to have to sit through 40 minutes of connective tissue to get there. But if the action scenes are good, then it will have delivered the thing that it promised me in return for my money, and I will be happy. Now that being said, if you're for some reason listening to this review in, let's say, the year 3043, because I assume people on starships will be listening to us and
probably
trying to decide what to pull up on their brain infusers. And I guess if you have a brain infuser, I don't know how that works. Maybe this movie's awesome on brain infusion. But if what you have is a TV, I'm not so sure how exciting this movie will be. It really was like a big
IMAX
screen
experience.
Yeah, it was an IMAX experience. You see it on the biggest, loudest screen, and get your popcorn, and it's one of those. But it is genuinely one of those, and it was genuinely fun and exciting. And I'm sure Jake, as someone who grew up as a little boy, loving the original, will go ape bat for this movie. Like it delivers all that in space. We walked out, and I'd say most of our packed theater was people over the age of 40, maybe most of them over the age of 45, a lot of them women, which was all very interesting. And I've never heard more people say, well, that was so good, and I waited 30 years and I finally got it, and are we going to have to wait another 30? Like, just walking out, people were so excited and amped, and just, I've walked out of a lot of, early showings of Star Wars and things like that. I've never heard an audience so enthusiastic. This movie got multiple cheers and applause breaks and things like that. So just on the level of a spectacle popcorn thing, this movie delivers But there are other things in this movie.
Yeah.
Like the story and the characters.
Yeah. Part of the deal is it is just a shrine to the original movie.
Yes.
So it's more about, hey, remember this character that you liked? Here's a photograph of them. Here's a follow-up on their story. Here's the son, of Tom Cruise's wingman who tragically died. The son of Goose, whose call sign is Rooster.
I don't know why this one wasn't called Top Gun, Son of Goose.
Yeah.
That would have been a better title.
Yeah. Oh, man. And that's mostly it. It exists to make you feel happy and cozy and comfortable, and to pay off in a very warm way all the stuff in the original movie, which, as I understand, it was not actually all that warm. The weird movie had weird gay subtext. It had weird sexual tension. It had a grossness. It had an explicit sex scene.
Well, that's where if Jake was here, he'd be able to speak to that. I think he might defend it. He might say it's not, because I was talking to him a little bit about this via text yesterday. I don't think he wants to give that the movie is as gay or as subtextually crazy as society has, I guess, decided it is.
Okay.
he thinks that's more the corruption of society having to. It's not that he doesn't think the volleyball scene's gay bait. Obviously it is, but you could watch 3 seconds of that and know that. But he thinks the overall story is just a bro military kind of story. And
fair enough. I feel, I guess I'm overstepping my bounds. So,
but only a little bit, because you're not wrong about this movie existing to warmly,
warmly, and this movie is not very interested in sex. Like, it's not interested in male and female, but it does pretend that it is.
Right.
It's not like Tom Cruise has a love interest, like an old flame, and their relationship is, it's DOA. It's dead on arrival in terms of the interest. It's sentimental hogwash, but the actress, hogwash. Yes, right. The actress who plays his old love interest, Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah.
What I thought when I saw her is her eyes are dead. Like, there's nothing in her eyes. Like, she is not someone who ever loved this other character. There's nothing. She is just like an arch gesture towards the idea of a really hot former flame who's still there for you to sleep with when you come back into town. And the movie does not care about her. It does not care about her daughter. And the more it pretended it did, the grosser it was and the sillier it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I like Jennifer Connelly, and it was nice to see Jennifer Connelly again. I feel like I haven't seen her, and it was nice to see her smile, even if her eyes were dead. Because in the early 2000s, she just played like role after role where she was just weeping through the entire
Beautiful
movie.
Mind.
Yeah, Beautiful Mind stuff. Like, they've just brought her in to be the serious lady reacting to some broken
House of Sand and Fog, which I never saw.
Yeah, but that's just exactly the kinds of stuff that she would do. Yeah. And she kind of got typecast as that sort of thing. So it's nice to see Jennifer Connelly like be in something. It was almost kind of nice to see her play a lame token role. Like, I wish she would have gotten more of those in her prime. But the movie, in a way that, how to say this, it oversexes her, not in a way that will cause you to sin. Like, she's not sexualized, but she is a 50-year-old woman that they dye her hair and put her in sort of a young woman's jeans and stuff. And they're trying to sort of smuggle in this idea that, Tom Cruise at going on 60 and this lady going on 50 can just pick up the same old sexual relationship that Top Gun, the original, had in spades. Mm-hmm. And they don't make it explicit in a way that there's too much pornographic material that you have to turn away from or anything like that. But it's just a very dumb sexual Hollywood idea of what sex is. And I don't know what else to say about it, but it's just kind of sad that that's what's being sold to people. Yeah.
It just leaves a hollow taste in your mouth. Like, this is in here and you want us to feel good about it. You want us to feel good about everything in this movie, but you don't care. And I don't know. And most of the relationships are like that.
Right.
You do have the guy who plays Goose's son, like, going for an Academy Award, basically.
Yeah, Miles Teller,
so to speak.
And I like him. I love him in that J.K. Simmons
Drumline.
That it's not Drumline. It's Whiplash.
Oh, right.
Whiplash is a terribly intense movie, and I mean terribly in the best way. Got a lot of bad language, but if you haven't seen it and you want to watch an intense character, did you ever see Whiplash?
I didn't. I don't know why not.
It's kind of unpleasant just because it's so intense. Like,
yeah,
it's about a kid who, if you don't know the premise, who joins an elite jazz band, and he's got a emotionally abusive teacher. But emotionally abusive is the wrong word, because the movie really wants to play with the idea of, well, this guy is mean, he's cruel, he's throwing drums, he's chewing out his students, he's yelling at them, and yet he's making them great. And where's the line, and what is the line, and is there a line, and that sort of thing. The movie wants to play with those ideas, and it does it in an actually pretty interesting, sophisticated way, I think.
Cool.
It's not just saying that the teacher's a monster, but it is also saying, yes, he's a monster. And so anyway, Miles Teller is great, but man, what a nothing.
Yeah, he didn't have much to play. I don't know. This is a kind of movie that wants to, it's like, well, all these relationships, all the relationships between these awesome top-notch pilots coming into the next level challenge, which Maverick Tom Cruise's character is going to introduce to them.
Right.
And here's all their relationships, and you're familiar with them, and we don't even have to write them, and we're not going to write them.
Right.
You know, we're aggressively not going to write them, but we're also aggressively going to make you feel like you should feel everything that you would feel if we did write them. And this movie is just very like, I don't know, I call it assertive.
Yes.
It's like this is full-scale Hollywood. This is a callback to an earlier movie that you loved, if you loved it. And here's all these kids, you know all the beats, and we are going to be able to get away with giving you the most shorthand, dumb version of everything, and you will love it. Yeah, just as if it were something we really carefully wrote and thought about, which we didn't.
We have the authority figure. We have more than one authority figure who stands in Tom Cruise's way for no other reason than that the movie needs an authority figure to be gruff until such time as he's like, okay, well, I guess you are the greatest man that ever lived. So, okay. Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that's right.
And they get poor John Hamm, who's such a wonderful actor, to just play that part, you know, to just be like, well, Tom Cruise, I feel
like that's where he's landed in Hollywood, I feel like.
Yeah, which is too bad because he could be playing the Tom Cruise part. He's great. And they have Ed Harris come in to do the same scene, the same character a little bit earlier in the movie for whatever reason. I don't know why John Hamm can't be our only mean authority figure. But you've got that guy. You've got the Val Kilmer analog, the brash adversarial kind of Han Solo type guy that,
right.
You know, does he have a heart of gold? Will he save the day at the end? I don't know. So,
yeah,
I don't mind those kinds of formulas. I mean, I think formulas are formulas for a reason and they can be done well. And sometimes you just want that comfort food. But I think what you said is absolutely right. They didn't actually write it, and yet they spent a lot of time on it.
Yes.
That's the weird thing is you could, because people will say, it's just the movie about airplanes going vroom. Who cares? Okay. And I take your point. I think that's a good point, actually. That's a good argument. But therefore, just make those airplanes go vroom. Like, let's really not care. Let's not spend time on things that we as a movie actually don't care that much about. But this movie feels the need to go through every one of those paces, hit every one of those beats, make sure to have an analog to every single scene from the dumb earlier movie. And it's like, why? Just extend the action scene. And that was the genius of Mad Max Fury Road, was that it was a movie just comprised of the good parts. Like we didn't feel the need to recreate a story. I mean, they told a story. We don't have to talk about Fury Road today, but you know what I mean? Like there are martial arts movies where it's like you have to sit through 90 minutes of dumb stuff that's not martial arts. And then there are martial arts movies that have good stuff. And then there are martial arts movies that just have martial arts. And I can respect the stuff with good stuff, and I can respect a movie with good in-between stuff. I can respect a movie with no in-between the stuff, but I'm not sure I really understand the impulse to have a ton of in-between stuff and then make it not that good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, I know some people will say that this is actually a little too hard on it, and just let these characters have these dumb fun relationships that we already understand from other movies.
Yeah.
Let these, they're not cadets, but I want to call them cadets.
It's a cadet movie when they're called cadets.
That's right. They're like cadets who are coming into the graduate level
right.
program instead of the entry level. So yeah, let them have, and I'm partly like, fine.
Yeah, I don't want to be a grumpy. If there's a 12-year-old boy that's experiencing all these cliches for the first time.
Yeah.
I guess that's fine.
I would say that those relationships are fine with me when everyone's in the air and when you can actually feel consequences and stakes because they're in planes, they're on the mission. Are they going to overcome their weaknesses? Are they going to figure it out? That actually is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're on the ground and you're establishing them as characters and shooting these dialogue scenes, they just didn't really. It is just a shrine to nostalgia. It's not okay. So maybe that's fine, but quite a bit of it was hard to take. It was hard for me to take because it was poorly done.
Yeah, well, and that's why I wanted to spend a little time on the style, because this movie, whether it's sloppy or I can't tell whether it's doing this on purpose or not, but it emulates a lot of what was bad about that Tony the Bruckheimer school of style. specifically any number of dialogue scenes. A person will say a sentence like this, and there will be 2 or 3 cuts, and not a cut like I say that sentence and then you cut halfway through to bend for a reaction shot. That's fine. But imagine if you're on my face and then you punch into a close up of my face, or you swivel the camera a little bit so you have a slightly different angle on my face. You do too many things like that, and it begins to feel like, did you just not get enough footage to tell the story? Did you not know how to put a dialogue? People may not believe this that listen to this podcast, but I don't just sit there criticizing the filmmaking in my head of every, like, oh, well, you could have edited that better. But this movie has some things that are just egregious where it's like, I don't know whether that's sloppiness or whether that's an intentional replication of a terrible style.
It felt intentional, but most of the things you're talking about that were so egregious were in the introduction of all the cadets.
Yes, very much.
In the bar. Yeah. And it's this weird scene where in a very compressed way, the movie is trying to give you the idea of every single relationship and piece of tension between like 8 different people in about 3 minutes or 2 minutes. And it has all of these quick edits, and it keeps introducing new characters, and it's trying to indicate that they already have relationships and they already like each other or hate each other.
Well, and there's this conceit in the movie where only certain of the cadets will be chosen. And right. So you see the cadets and it's like, well, they're going to choose because the society we live in, they have to choose the black guy. They have to choose the woman. They have to choose the hero, the son of Rooster, whatever, right. The son of Goose. And then they'll have a boring fourth. Who cares? So you already know who it is. And yet we have to also, in this scene that you're describing, spend time establishing red herring characters, establishing extra.
And the movie doesn't follow up on them or care about them at all.
No, but we sure are going to, quickly cut to them and give them a little bit of business so we can feel like they're there for a reason.
Yeah, it was weird, and it was disconcerting because I wasn't sure. At first, I wasn't sure what was even going on. And then I was like, wait, these people are coming in from different parts of the country because they're on duty, pilots. And
right.
now they're being called to a new mission. And that's why they're all acting like, I haven't seen you in a while, but I already know you well. Or I know you by reputation. Or it was like, and then, like you said, the cutting, it's just it reminded me very much of Michael Bay's very aggressive, eat this, eat this, eat this. There's not any connection, but now there is because I say so.
Yeah.
And in the way I'm telling the story, this very like the rest of the movie wasn't full on Michael Bay in that respect.
No, you watch the movie, it's not gonna strike you as a particularly egregiously badly done movie or anything like that.
No.
But several of the dialogue scenes are awkward like that, particularly that bar scene. The other problem that bar scene has, and it's a problem that the movie has largely, is Tom Cruise just can't decide whether he wants to age gracefully or not. I mean, I think he has decided not to.
Yes.
But he's a very savvy man and a savvy producer and a savvy exploiter of his own image. And so he knows that he can't just play a 20-year-old forever. He's not dumb. And yet he wants to split the difference.
Yeah.
So John Wayne, I love watching John Wayne movies because he really embraced elder statesman roles at exactly the right time. And by the time he's in his 50s and 60s, there's some weird transition movies where he's still dating a 20-year-old woman in the movie, but he's obviously 50. And every male star of the 20th century has those movies. But by and large, John Wayne in the second half of his career plays dads, plays grandpas, plays, mentors. And the movie happens to always makes those characters the heroes, which is fine. It's a John Wayne movie. But, he moves into, he's going to be dating the older woman. There will usually be a younger couple that will have their, sexy little spat or whatever in the movie. And then John Wayne will play old. And you compare that to somebody like Cary Grant, who just played the same dashing, debonair guy into his 60s. And he's, in Charade, he's with Audrey Hepburn. She's in her 20s. And it's just like, Tom Cruise can't quite decide what he wants to do. And so I think a more successful version of this movie in terms of the storyline actually has Tom Cruise just playing Rocky and Creed, or he's just the coach. He's just the old guy now. And we're actually excited about introducing a new generation of stars.
Yeah.
The movie's really putting some weight behind like Miles Teller. You're going to walk away excited about him and about whoever the fake Val Kilmer guy is, who I thought was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. They both are. Yeah. The fact is, if you wanted to create actual characters, you could have.
Yeah, you had the actors to do it. I think fake Val Kilmer was actually a lot of fun with a nothing, just kind of bully with a heart of gold part.
Right.
But Hangman was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Miles Teller's a good actor. He's good at that kind of stuff. Just have the dignity, Tom Cruise, to let it be their movie and win an Academy Award in the process. Like, everybody will love you.
Yeah.
Just giving yourself to being the older, actually kind of
father figure.
And the movie wanted to have it both ways. He certainly gets a lot of father figure material, but he still has to bed the babe, and the babe
who's a mother figure, but they want to split the difference with her,
right?
Too.
Which is weird. Which is why her hair's dyed and she's wearing these jeans and everything. Like she, everything about it is let's split the difference.
Well, here's some major spoilers, folks.
Mm-hmm.
What you're saying, the problem, like the split image problem, is in the plot of the movie.
Yeah,
it's like it's so funny because I think that clarifies what happens, which is that Tom Cruise he's shocked to learn he hasn't been brought in to fly this mission. He's been brought in to train these people to fly this mission.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to train them. But then, it ends up that actually he does have to fly this mission as the leader.
Right.
It's like, well, okay. Yeah, this is not about handing off the Top Gun franchise or basically recreating a new Top Gun franchise with new actors. It's not about telling a new story.
Mm-hmm.
This is simply about nostalgia, and Tom Cruise nostalgia especially, and how Tom Cruise can still be cooler than all these kids in their 20s in his 60s.
Right.
And that is what the movie is about. And I think it's fun that Tom Cruise wants to do all the stunts and wants to make movies with this much, let me say, care and loving attention to detail, particularly in the action scenes.
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad he does that, but he could be more generous with his co-stars and give them more to do and know when to strategically take a step back in a way that would actually make him look really good.
Oh, yeah.
One of the reasons I thought about this is because there's an introduction at the beginning. It has one of those dorky, maybe it was just our pre-release screening, but it has one of those soul-deadening, dorky introductions by Tom Cruise where he thanks you for coming to the theater and all this kind of stuff and says, there's so many people to thank for this wonderful movie that you're about to see. I hate those things. But Tom Cruise looks old.
I marked that too. I was like, introduction. Man, he looks old. He sounds old.
And I liked that, actually. I was like, oh, cool. Tom Cruise is finally just owning up to the fact that he's really not a young man anymore in this little clip. And then you cut to the movie, which, to be fair, has I think been on a shelf for a year or two in COVID. So it was filmed a couple years ago now, a few years ago. But you cut to the movie, and Tom Cruise is probably honestly got some CGI cosmetics in the movie. He's definitely doing makeup things. He's trying to play younger than he actually is in the movie. And it's funny, actually, because I was so aware of his age from that little stupid intro, I was tracking, and some scenes he looks much more older in this movie. Like when you meet him at the space station test or whatever, he looks a little bit younger, but then he goes into the bar and he looks a little bit more leathery.
I didn't track that.
But anyway, all to the point that Tom Cruise just embracing elder statesman status, I think it'd be
great.
Smart.
It is funny to me to think that 20 years ago now, he played a white-haired assassin in Collateral.
Yeah, and he already felt dignified, middle-aged.
And he actually used the older flavor of himself in that movie very effectively, and it felt like a transition to a different Tom Cruise, but that's not true.
Yeah, Vincent, I think, I don't know why his name is, I haven't seen that movie for 20 years, but he was
actually awesome.
He was a great character. He used all of Tom Cruise's sociopathy and his charm his middle age to its advantage in a really smart way. And you felt like, Tom Cruise could play this guy. He could play kind of the Michael Douglas roles and things. He could play the older statesman, the executive, the guy that's mean and in charge, or, there's different roles that you can play at different ages.
Yeah.
But Tom Cruise still wants to play Maverick.
Yeah. Well, so bottom line, good time at the movie.
It really is. I mean,
it is.
I don't know. I think it is worth noting the things that were wrong with it.
Right.
And saying that they were really wrong with it. I just don't feel a lot of tension about holding both of those things in my head and in my heart. You know, some people will need to defend the story in order to justify enjoying the action scenes.
Right.
But I'm just like, you know what? This movie was schlock. It was stupid. And I got my money's worth of planes going vroom really loudly. And
yeah, definitely.
And that's fine. I think it should have been better. I think they had a responsibility to make it even better than it was. And I think it's too bad that Tom Cruise doesn't give the same care to characters that aren't himself and things like that he does to everything else. But, you know, it's fine. It'll be interesting to see how he handles these next Mission Impossible movies, whether he tries to pass the torch at all or...
Well...
Seems like he just wants to keep betting younger and younger women in these things.
Well, that's what he did in his movie Oblivion, which I'm just going to spoil it for you because it's directed by the same guy who made this Top Gun Maverick movie. It's a Tom Cruise vehicle based on a video game where he plays a dude who's in a weird sci-fi world and appears to be the only man alive there, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, he's, I don't think married is the right word. He's with this woman who's like his age, this beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they're together in this house in the sky. But really, he belongs with this younger woman who he remembers and then finds on the planet and ends up being with her. And she's like way younger. But anyway, so that's like Tom Cruise's life. All the Katie Holmes scandal stuff, if you remember that. I don't know. I mean, some of it was scandal, some of it was not, but it's all gross.
Yeah, I mean, he went from Nicole Kidman to Katie Holmes to, I presume, some younger trade-in these days.
I think so. And then it's the same plot of Mission Impossible 6.
Yeah, where his wife's like, for the good of humanity, I need you to not be with me, the not that old, but going into middle-aged woman. Instead, you should be with this 30-year-old.
Who already, was very immodest in the previous Mission Impossible movie and set up as a sex interest. And then, I don't know, and then watching the only trailer that played before our screening of Top Gun, the new Mission Impossible, watching him cuddling with said younger woman, actress, in a couple of scenes, I just was like, ugh.
Well, I don't like to be the old man in the rocking chair shaking my cane at the clouds, but it was weird how much this trailer emphasized sex, actually. Like the Mission Impossible trailer was like, here's some ladies dancing or something.
Yeah.
What's going on here? That's not what I remember any Mission Impossible movie really being about at all. Why are you trying to sell this? I will say it was interesting. It was very interesting. They felt the need to have an analog to the sex scene in Top Gun. Like at the same moment that the sex scene in Top Gun happens, we have a sex scene in this one. And Hollywood is so scared of heteronormative sex these days. Like the sex scene, my wife went to cover my eyes, and by the time she was done covering my eyes, the scene was over. It was so tame, it was so chaste, and I'm not really complaining. I mean, I think that's a good thing, but it's also indicative of a weird bad thing about our culture, which is that they're actually scared of sex. Like they don't want to show it. I'm glad that they don't show it. I mean, don't hear what I'm not saying.
Right.
I'm glad that the movie was chaste in its way, but I don't think it was chaste because it was chaste. I think it was chaste because modern Hollywood and our modern culture has a weird, perverse, deadened relationship with sexuality.
Uh-huh.
So at least in the 80s, when they made a dumb sex scene that went on for too long and was evil, they were saying, well, men and women like to have sex, and we can exploit that to make people like our movie in a cynical, stupid way. But now they're like, the actual cynical, stupid thing we should do is not to even exploit that desire because it's so dead in people. And I don't know what to say, but it's just fascinating that movies don't have sex scenes anymore. James Bond doesn't really have them. Top Gun Maverick felt like it needed to have one, but didn't want to do anything with it. So I don't know. I don't think it's because we're living in a more chaste and modest time.
Nah.
Ben, anything else to say about Top Gun Maverick?
Nah, I guess people may think we're just being grumps or something about it all, but
Jake may think we're just being grumps about
Yeah,
it all. I'm sorry he's not here to be a counterbalance, and maybe he will later if he wants to. He's certainly welcome to. This movie will give you what it promises in terms of action and spectacle.
Yep. With very little in the way of quote unquote objectionable content.
Right. The objectionable stuff is all kind of cultural in your head.
Right.
The malaise of these modern times kind of stuff is it's ritual decoupled from meaning. There's not a better phrase for that. That's a good phrase. I'm going to own it. I'm not going to be sarcastic about it. That's my phrase.
Cool.
So, yeah, wish it was a little shorter, maybe. Rich D Cup.
Yep, Rich D Cup.
Rich D Cup. No, Rich D Cup mean.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that is terrible. Okay, how many planes out of 14?
I don't know. That's hard. Depends what you want. I give it 9 out of 14.
Yeah, 14 out of 14 for the parts where the planes are flying, and
yeah, definitely that.
Maybe 6 out of 14 for the other stuff.
Sure.
It was all passable. It's not like I was super. Sounds like you were more annoyed and bored with some of the.
I felt the kind of calculated hollowness, the lack of risk taking and storytelling, just and the way that it just wanted to play on my nostalgia for the old movie without trying to be its own movie. Mm-hmm. I felt all of that pretty acutely. So I don't know. Can't tell which part of that is an overreaction and which is just fair.
You didn't just see Doctor Strange. You weren't just assaulted with 2.5 hours of meaningless Marvel gobbledygook that was ritual, not just decoupled from meaning, but running as fast as it can from anything.
Okay,
so
that's fair.
Having seen that,
this
movie is just like, hey,
much better by comparison.
It's not really a story, but at least they kind of want it to feel like one.
Yeah, that's cool. I can accept that. This is not like. This is not that. This is not like...
Or even Spider-Man Far From Home with all its like...
No. This movie is more fun than that.
Yeah.
And it's even if you want it to be heartwarming, it will be a little heartwarming. It will be in a way that Spider-Man Far From Home is not.
Right. The arc of this character might be learn to use your feelings, but at least that's something.
It's something. This movie has something to it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're starving, so we're like, yeah, this Salisbury steak, not bad. But
yeah,
I cannot but admit that that's how I felt a little bit.
Yeah, no, totally. That's all fair.
Well, you know who else is fair?
Who?
I'll tell you, Ben, as soon as I pull up their name. It is Keith.
Fair, just, and balanced.
Our patron choice award of awesomeness, Warner, I should say. What makes Keith so awesome, you ask? Well, Ben.
Well, if Keith were an angry admiral who saw Tom Cruise's immaturities, he would still have the the dignity or something, or the discernment to see Tom Cruise's strengths as well and give him, if not a salute, a little nod at the end of his heroic run.
Well, there you go. Good for you, Keith.
Good for you, Keith. Good job.
Good job, old Keith. Until next time. We really need Jake. He'd have 1,000 lines. Churn and burn, baby.
Churn and burn.